over there, Jyoti auntie. She is also
Thank you. Some more here. Professor Chandrasekar will be honored by Harish Bhai. Now Professor Daniel Raveh will be honored by Harish Bhai.
Good morning to each and everyone. Welcome to this endowment lecture session. The scheme will be that each and every speaker should be given 15 minutes time, and it is the convention that endowment lectures are may be discussed or may not be discussed. But here, due to constraint of time, endowment lectures will not be open for discussion. So without losing time, I invite Professor Tabassum Sheikh to present her lecture.
Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful to this IPC session for giving me this opportunity to express my views on religion and how the process of dialogue can bring a transformation to realize a just society. I thank Professor Paneerselvam, sir, and Professor Seshadri for giving me this unique opportunity. Thank you so much. My topic for today is interreligious dialogue, a gradual elevation to challenge injustice. And I strongly believe that religion is one of the most fundamental inspiration through which we can realize a just society, if only we can happily admire and respect the essence of every religion, whether you follow your religion or not, but at least if we respect and understand the essence of every religion, I don't think there will be any problem or any conflict. Let me begin by saying, friends, that when we speak about interfaith dialogue, do we really have dialogues within ourselves, within the family? We see that today's age, we are all, within the family, we are sitting in the same room, but our children are glued to their gadgets, elders are glued to their gadgets. Where do we have dialogue? We talk about interfaith dialogue, but at least start from our own family. As a parent, do I know my child is back home? Did I call up home? Did I ask my child how was the day? There I have to, inculcate, I have to give the value of dialogue within the family. If I have to recall, when did I last talk to my neighbor or my sweeper or the security guard in my building? I don't recall very easily that, yes, it was a very long time, because I don't have time to have a dialogue with these people. Then, what about my parents? I'm so much engrossed in my own family that last, when did I call them? Did I inquire whether they want to visit me? Did I visit them? Did I have a dialogue with them? The children of 80s and 90s like myself, we really enjoyed life, in the sense of when we are coming back from school or college, we were together, we were visiting homes, we were discussing so many things with our friends. It was fun, but now there's just a text message. And mind you, this text messages, this type of communication, what we had at that time and the communication now is slowly taking us, isolating us from dialogue. When you are meeting face to face, person to person and having a conversation, you definitely have a feeling of well-being within yourself. With the family, with the society. But when you don't have, you're soon losing empathy. You're soon losing the sense of compassion towards each other. Same happens with regard to nature. With regard to nature, I mean the vegetative life, the animal life. I need to have a compassion towards non-human beings if I need to have a dialogue. If I feel that I have to elevate myself towards having a dialogue, I need to have that kind of a compassion. And in having this compassion, I treat the non-human world with the same compassion what I treat the human world. We teach in our syllabus the environmental ethics, accountability, stewardship, trusteeship. And that needs to be told, that needs to be followed in our everyday life. Our tradition, especially the Asian traditions, are rich. Like Atharveda, Rigveda, Yajnavalkya, Smriti, they are rich with all this divinity towards nature, the divinity of nature. And if we understand, not just teaching, but we understand this divinity, that compassion, that feeling automatically comes within us. Why I am discussing this compassion towards animal life, compassion and peace with nature, because I feel that unless I have an inclination of my heart to do what is right, to do my duty at every stage of life, unless I have the understanding of the interconnectedness of things, by treating human and non-human life with the same compassion, unless I'm sensitive to social problems like poverty, unemployment, corruption, violence, caste discrimination, communal violence, trafficking, human trafficking, child labor, media, prejudice, genocide, I can never move in the direction of a dialogue. I have to be sensitive to all these social problems. My question is why we see around the kind of violence which we are facing today, the kind of discrimination, the way the world has been divided. Why do we hate each other to such an extent that we are spending maximum time in planning, executing this hatred, oppressing our own fellow human beings? That day, a couple of days back, I was having a discussion with my good friend, Dr. Valmiki, Amita Valmiki, and we were discussing about the concentration camps of Hitler. And when we come to know the gory stories about these concentration camps, we only wonder how can a human become such a monster as to butcher another human who's just like them. I mean, when you read about the Cuban crisis, especially when Dean Rusk, in his book, he writes, I have met and worked with a good many people whose names are in the history books or in the headlines. I have never met a demigod or a superman. I have only seen relatively ordinary men and relatively ordinary women who are groping with everyday problems. So how can a human become a monster? It is ordinary men that bring peace, or they can bring war. One can grow into a monster, another into an amazing peacemaker. Heinrich Himmler, along with Hitler, was responsible for a slaughter of many 10 to 15 million Russian, Poles, Jews. He was not a hater or a monster, but merely a dehumanized, obedient bureaucrat. He was courteous, he was Spartanly simple, he never read immoral books, he was not even a rebel, but he chose to be under the influence of a strong man. And he turned out to be a veritable monster. Is it only the rulers? Going beyond the ruler, we have ideology makers, we have idea givers who can give mighty forms of the ideas of violence. But my question is, are we submitting ourselves to the culture of violence? We distance ourselves from our culture and raise a voice are we raising a voice in protest? Slowly, gradually, we are surrendering to the ideology of violence. We limit ourselves to the denunciations of injustice, and we feel that we are self-righteous, we are on the right path, others deserve it. Because we are submitting to the wrong messages of media. Ultimately, what is required is reconciliation and dialogue between the oppressors and the oppressed, or else this might lead to injustice with role reversal. For me, action for justice will lead to and will be served by interreligious dialogue, because situations of injustice call for serious and concerted action. People of different religions come together in an atmosphere of humanness and commitment to values. Now, when I speak about humanness and commitment to values, it means that people will pull in together with insights, have a vision of a different society, replace the current value system. Thus, a Christian might speak from the perspective of the kingdom of God, a Hindu from that of Ramrajya, a Marxist that from a classless society, and an atheist from the point of secular humanism. The oppressor everywhere belong to all religions and even to all castes. They should come together and put collective pressure on the system for transformation. Unless they are united, transformation in the society can never take place. You cannot talk about a dialogue. Use religion to revive, to recall the prophetic struggles for us to assert our views. We have to recall the struggles which the prophets had made, how they had to go through the hardships. This dialogue of life will lead to dialogue of action with inter-religious collaboration. Action for justice presupposes that there are values and goals worth fighting for. On these grounds, one has to come to find that these values find their ultimate ground in religion and not in human reason. Because reason works only at the pragmatic level or the socio-historical level, but religion works at all levels. So we need religion to unite us together. Religion can provide values with ultimate grounds. It will provide us values at the individual level, at the social level, and at the higher level of the world. So we need to have a perspective which will unite us on these levels. At the individual level, the Christian tradition will see human dignity in the human being. The Hindu will see the dual identity with reality itself. Islam will see everything as God's gift, and Buddhism for nirvana. At the social level, again, the Christian will see the reign of God. The Hindu will see the ideal of Lokasangraha or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in Hinduism. The Muslim will see Ummah as a community joining us together, and the Buddhist will see it as the Sangha. Action for liberation will succeed only if there is a certain consensus among us as to the values of goals which has to be defined, redefined, defended, and promoted. In this process of a dialogue, the believers of various religions may discover that their agreement reaches beyond values into the certain community at the religious level for a common belief in the ultimate. So here we go from the individual level to the social level, and ultimately the answer will be the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality. And then there will be an action for liberation which will aim at justice and peace. While secularism and humanism can contribute to the clarification and practice of these ideals, it is not to be forgotten that in all cultures, these notions have religious moorings, and they are perceived differently by different religions. People in a multi-religious society needs to build a human community. The understanding of man and community should be upheld by various religions to arrive at a consensus. This would demand that the understanding of man and community upheld by the various ideologies and religions should be brought into a dialogue to arrive at a consensus. And this dialogue is necessary for building the community. Through action for liberation, people seek a fuller and richer human life. We see that these new forms of liberation, these new forms of sometimes we call as fighting for justice or democracy, sometimes alienates people, sometimes they themselves, the leader himself, become oppressive in this alienation. It will help in when, well, it should not lead to it. People have to fall back on their own religious spirituality. So that if you are not falling into this alienation, one should fall back on the spirituality aspect of religion and not isolate or alienate themselves in this fight for liberation. And here I have just discussed some philosophy of action by, by certain philosophers who have contributed. Like Immanuel Kant, he speaks about moral laws of which leads to religion. One has to follow these moral laws. One has to fulfill one's duty towards striving for social justice. Make oneself worthy to the standard of the fulfillment of happiness. And he said everything apart from moral way is no religion. If you are away from moral way of life, of leading a moral way of life, it cannot be called a religion. Similarly, Martin Buber of the contemporary times, he gave a very good, he has written a lot on the Judaic-Christian authenticity of authentic dialogue. And here he has given the concept of I and thou. It's a relation which is pure encounter of the whole unique entity with another in such a way that the other is known without being subsumed. You do not have to, what is called as, take the universal and forget your identity. It is without being subsumed under a universal. Similarly, Vivekananda, as we all know, spoke about universal religion. Different religions emphasize different qualities of religion. It is not possible to find common elements. No two religions can be similar. Yes, but the similarities are that the God is one, and we have to follow the right path in understanding this one God. And he has this, the best part which he has written is, we talk about religious tolerance, a multicultural society, and the tolerance at every level. But why tolerance? It is acceptance. Tolerance is a very, very negative word. So he has denounced the word tolerance and has accepted the word acceptance. You have to accept the other religion. Religion is realization, nor talk, nor doctrine, nor theories. It is being and becoming, nor hearing or acknowledging. It is the whole soul becoming changed into what he believes. Rabindranath Tagore similarly talks about the life of self-denial for self-realization, and everywhere he has given a very good analogy of the oil and the lamp. The lamp is burning the oil. Similarly, we have to burn our narrow outlook and look toward the broader outlook of life. J. Krishnamurti, he gives us the message of freeing ourselves from the fear, conflict, problems, that a mind, a brain is not that is completely free, has the quality of life and compassion. We have to free ourselves from this. Religion is an action which is a total, which covers the whole life. Religion is a way of life that is whole and not fragmentary. It transforms man into totally. Dr. Abdul Kalam, he has given a very good, he has said, okay, we are into producing child prodigy. Where are we inculcating the values which is required in today's time? Where are we giving those values to our children? Where are we giving them the value of listening to other people? So if you have to initiate a dialogue, you need to listen to people, which is very, very important. Yes. Conclusion, we have to have a dialogue, we need to collaborate the transformation of society in the building of a new earth, a classless society. We have to struggle together because my problem and your problem is the same problem. We are not having different problem of different faiths. To struggle together against all that degrades the human, hurts human dignity, alienates us from ourselves. We need to celebrate together the strivings, the struggles, and the victories of liberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will invite the second speaker, Dr. V. Chandrasekar. hopefully he will stick to the time limit of 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning to one and all. Respected Chairperson, respected President of the IPC, my teacher, Professor Panneerselvam, and General Secretary of the IPC, colleagues from the different parts of India, very good morning to one and all. One reason for having this PowerPoint is, you're going to see me directly, so why see me in close-up? That's one reason. Of course, also to help me and you to understand what I'm going to say, and some Tamil verses, lines I'm going to suggest. That's why we have this. I have actually tried to title my paper as Concept of God in the Tamil Saiva literature. Tries to identify what the literatures are, and then going into the nature of God, why we require God, how the literatures see at the requirement for God, and then the nature of God, like that. This is how the paper is being done. See, Saiva Siddhanta, prominent in South India, especially Tamil Nadu, attempts to give convincing answers to some of the questions here. And the literature that we follow are the Upanishads, the Pannir Thirumarai, which comprises of Thevaram, Tiruvachakam, of the poems, the hymns written by or sung by the great Saiva saints, including Appar Tirunavakarsar, Jnanasambandar, Sundarar, 4 main people, and there are 63 Saiva saints they tell. And based on the hymns of such saints, we have the 12 sacred canonical texts called it Pannir Thirumarai. Then we have the Maikad Deva Shivajnana Bodham, and then of course Umapati Shivam, who's written Shiva Prakasham, Sivajnana Siddhyar and all. And we have Jnanamardam of the 12th century. And these texts avowedly emphasizes on belief in one supreme Godhead, that is Shiva. All these texts abounds in the nature of Shiva in this format. That is, man is surrounded by 3 defilements. They call the Anava Mala, Maya Mala and Karma Mala. Mala is the defilement, of which primal is the Anava Mala. To them, if we have God's grace, then the defilements can be removed. This is the view that they talk of. And how to get that? Because one thing is, one of the Thirumarai, we say that, knowing, I quote, knowing that ignorance is artificial to us, because for them ignorance is artificial, results in removal of ignorance. But knowing that this ignorance cannot be removed unless knowledge is established, and which is possible by constantly remembering God. That is, if we have to remove ignorance, we need to have knowledge, and that is possible only with the remembrance of God. We have some, I'm just quoting some verses where how mind is taken up here. Manaminam thoni patri madinam koli uvundri chinaminam saraki etri cherigadal odumbodu madanenam pari taki mayam podu ariya onnadu unevunam monarvi nalgal utriyor udaya kovi. The author here looks at mind as the boat, intellect as the oar, guiding post. But if there is any problem while crossing the ocean, then we can fall back on God. That's what the refuge is none other than Lord Shiva. Then we have Appar, who talks of the 5 senses as being responsible for man's likes and dislikes. He too concludes that only Shiva can help man. Here I'm trying to see how God is relevant to man. In fact, one of the words that I've given at the last, the Tamil word for God is Kadavul, comprising of 2 terms, Kada and Vul. Kada means beyond, and Vul is inside. This itself shows how Godhead is understood in Tamil literature as both transcendent and immanent. That is, he is one who is beyond the intellect and also within. Then there's one more verse which talks of Vadambinam Maniyagatul Ullami Tagariyaga, Madambadam Unarnayati, Uyir, Enum Tiri Mayaka, Edambad Yana Tiyal Lirikala, Irunda Nakil Kadamba Amar Kali, Tade, Kada Adi Kanalami. That is, her body is the house, mind, the lab, the power of discrimination is the oil, and life is the wick. Just as darkness is of the house is removed with a lighted candle, so also the candle body be brightened with the consciousness and power of Shiva. Then we have one sentence given by Manikavachagar, Gunangalam, Kurigalam, Illa Gunakkadal. There are 3 here. Gunangal, Kurigal and Gunakadal. Gunangal means quality. Gunangal illa means that which is beyond qualities. It's not that it is devoid of qualities, but is beyond. That's Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Kurigal means sign. Kurigal illa means that which cannot be identified with any particular characteristic. It's a special feature of God. And then he calls it as Gunakadal. Kadal is the ocean. Gunakadal, there is ocean of qualities. That is, it means one who possesses 8 qualities and found to be pervading. Here, Thiruvachakam highlights that life or Uir is neither Sat nor Asat. These texts also exhort the fact that man's life is ruled over by Shiva, both here and also after, because see the 2 lines, Sivam Aki, or the Sivam Aki, to make me as Shiva and control me. Shiva, Anda means control. Then we have Avan Arulale, Avan Talvanangi. That is, even to worship him, we need his grace. And man, according to this is what I have mentioned, where this one particular where I have underlined, Anavamala is beginningless. It's supposed to be beginningless, but not the real attribute. But therefore, since it's not the real attribute, it can also be removed with the help of Shiva. And one other thing is the acharyas that we have. As Shiva, according to them, is love personified. He is ready, in fact, I'm going to tell about it later also. He is ready to shower grace, provided the individual also yearn for it. And in order to do that, he also helps the individual with the acharyas. Look at this verse. Nalli say Nyada Sabadalu, Navide Karasuram Padi, Natramar Malai, Solli Vesali, Eighth Gopani. That is, only by reading the verses of saints like them that man can get Shiva's grace. And remember, the Saiva also talks of these saints who come here, and we can understand them in terms of the advocates that we have. See, we know what a case is. We know what is right and what is wrong in it. But we require the help of an advocate to present the case. In a similar manner, these saints help the man to present his case for redemption with God. And who are these acharyas? They have not come as a result of their previous acts, nor are they depicted as suffering due to their wrong deeds or bad karmas. Instead, it is none other than Shiva who has sent them. They have been chosen for the sake of showing to mankind what must be expected and how one must act. Even their lamentations are on behalf of the humanity and not for themselves. Some of the ideas which I was telling, notion of an all-loving God, his control over individual, both here and after, pure love for Shiva. And then these acharyas, we've gone behind. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Look at the phrase with the different color, where it says God only waits for some pretext to save the soul. Even act remotely connected with the holy, such as the unwitting utterance of God's name, is sufficient to set the redemptive power of grace to operate. I'm quoting this from T. Mahajan's Outlines of Hinduism. Why I'm saying this is, though they talk of the love of Shiva, and Shiva being ready to shower his grace, they also have suggested other sources. One is acharyas, the other is chanting the name of the Lord. So this is the thing, we talk of the Shiva's auspiciousness, absoluteness, the transcendence and immanence, which are going to come later, and his readiness shower. We also talk of Anbeshivam, that is God is love. The seeming tension between transcendence and immanence is brought out very clearly here in one of these passages. I quote, the metaphysical approach to the reality of God, conceived as cause, expresses this tension within God concept between extreme immanence and extreme transcendence. Here, is God only the efficient cause, nimitta karna, or is he the material cause, upadana karna? Or is he the efficient and material cause, nimitta pada karna? Saiva Siddhanta's answers to this question is to admit Maya as the upadana karna and God as the nimitta karna, implying thereby that upadana karna is at all costs only in relation to nimitta karna. Maya is the upadana karna and God is the possessor of Maya. And there's 3 words from Bhriguvali, Yata, Ena and Yat. The first paragraph of the Upanishad of the Bhriguvali we get is Yatava imani bhutani jayante, ena jatani jivanti, et prayante bhisamvishanti tat vijijñasasva. What it says is that from which the entire universe is created, that which is responsible for the entire universe to be sustained, and that into which the entire universe merges into it is the Almighty. This is something similar to what I was talking earlier. And the 3 words here refer to the immanence of God. Some examples given: a flower is sustained by the constant energy that it derives from the sun. Similar is the need for the omnipresence of Shiva in the three aspects of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. Team gives another analogy. Just as wind causes disturbances only to a part of the sea, evolution relates but to a portion of Shiva's Shakti, and just as the sun is impartial and the same to all things, although these things derive their sustenance in diverse ways from him, so also is Shiva in relation to the evolutes and the soul. Unquote. This is a diagram which I thought will depict. The top one is Shiva's concern for his individuals, which is flowing through his grace and love, which again depends on the individual's love for Shiva. Then we have Tiruvachikam, which also talks of Shiva in whichever way one proceeds to worship. We must have total love, it says. And then one more aspect of God that is spoken of in the canonical text is to look at God as he, she, and it. That is, as Shiva, as Team Madhan has pointed out, Shivaha, Shiva, and Shivam. That is, Shiva in the masculine, Shiva in the feminine, and Shiva in the neuter. Because it represents the three aspects of the world. That's what he says. Manikautik also declares like that. And then it looks at God in this particular verse. Irai mudal onrai iripen an gunam moonrai. That is, it looks at God as one, absolute, two as mother and father, three as the three gunas, four as the four Vedas, five as the five elements, six as the six senses, 7 notes, and 8 directions. Here I want to mention one example. We have the notes in the music, 7 notes. But based on the notes, we have different ragas. And based on the ragas, we have different kinds of songs. In each of the songs, the notes are immanent. But then the notes are beyond also. That's the way Shiva Saiva understands God. Of course, this is how the term used for Shiva is Pati, also Pashupati, as the lord of the Pashu and the Pasha. And it is also looking at Shivam as Tat Shivam and Tarparam. Tat Shivam means Shivam which is self-existing, unaided and unaffected by anything else and remaining pure, Shuddha. Tarparam denotes that Shivam is the primal being. Quoting from T.M. Mahajan again, God is Shiva the auspicious, his superior. Why I am bringing this is, according to Saiva Siddhanta, Shivan is also above Vishnu and Brahman. For the simple reason that at the time of Pralaya, it's Rudra that is there at the end, and everything goes and merges into it. And one thing that struck me here is the closeness of explanation for the meaning of Shiva. As T.M. Mahajan suggests, Shayana, the commentator of the Vedas, gives one of the derivations of the word Rudra, meaning is he who drives away sin and suffering. The expression Shiva here means he who attenuates sin. Some scholars therefore consider Shiva as the euphemistic epithet of the terrible Rudra. And then, therefore we have got, I'll just conclude with this minute, that is, in all I can conclude that Shaiva Siddhanta looks at the loving God to be loved by the human. God is love, therefore to love God. And to enable us to love God, they also provide the acharyas. And one more thing is the last one. The careful study of Shaiva treatise shows one other method, and that is constant thinking and repetition of the 5-lettered word Namachivaya, Namachivaya. 5-letter. By chanting, it is easier. How I'm again going back to what T.M. Mahajan is quoted from the Shivananda Lahiri, where Shankara talked of Sarupya, Salakya, Sayujya, and Samipya, where it is said that, O Lord, Sarupya, sameness of form with you, comes to me easily through worship of you. Samipya, through chanting your names. Salakya, sameness of residence, through the company of and conversation with those who are experts in Shiva Bhakti. Ultimate union, through the contemplation of your form, which comprises all beings, moving and non-being. And then, this also suggests the terms like Brahma with Brahma Bhavati and all. And then I'm concluding with this particular verse from the phrase which I took from the founder chancellor of Satsaya University, which quoting here, love for God just only to help me how I can, because I take this opportunity as learning process for me to learn Saiva Siddhanta. The quote is this: love for God can grow only in a well-plowed heart, free from weeds, So prepare your heart through Namasmarana, constant recital of the divine name. Charge every second of time with the divine current that emanates from the name. That will evoke his form as the inner core of everything, every thought and turn of events. That will provide you with his company and contact with the unfailing energy and bliss. Converse with God, who is in you, and derive courage and consolation from him. He is the Guru, most interested in your progress. Do not seek the Guru outside you in hermitages and holy places. The God in you is Father, Mother, Preceptor, and Friend. God is love, live in love. That is the direction indicated by the sages. That is, looking at Shiva with you, in you, above you, around you. This is the idea that Saiva Siddhanta talks of. With this, I'd like to thank once again the IPC authorities and especially my teacher Panisulam for giving me one more chance to read the impact of Saiva Siddhanta. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, audience, for a kind, patient listening.
So thank you very much. I will invite Professor Daniel Raveh to present his endowment lecture. So please stick to the time.
Hi, good morning. I also want to thank the organizers for the invitation and for the hospitality, and especially, of course, Bharat Saab, the chairperson of the ICPR, my friend Balaganapati Devrakonda, and Lalabhai Patel. So I've written a long paper titled Deathlessness, Freedom, a dialogue with Ramchandra, Gandhi, and Dayakrishna, two contemporary Indian thinkers. But due to the short time, I will just read to you the last segment of my paper. The title of the last segment is Death, However, Can at least be a matter of choice. In his paper, An Attempted Analysis of the Concept of Freedom from 1952, Dayakrishna writes, I quote, "Man is the only being who can choose not to be. Therein lies his greatest freedom, the freedom from ends, from life, from conscious being. He is the only animal who can commit suicide, a self-conscious annihilation of itself. Still, the self-conscious annihilation does not present itself as a must. It merely presents itself as a choice that is the ultimate foundation of freedom in man. If death is merely seen as external or internal necessity, man can only submit to it. Whether with a protest or not, it does not matter. It is only when death is seen as a choice, as the self-conscious annihilation of one's own Dasein, that it appears as foundational freedom." And I write, Dayakrishna distinguishes here between two types of suicide. The ordinary type takes place when life fails to fulfill one's expectations, and one drowns in suffering and frustration. It is not a matter of free choice, but a choice that one has been constrained to make, owing to unbearable hardship. In such a situation, it is life that triumphs, not freedom. In the other type of suicide, quote-unquote suicide, which is the subject matter of Dayakrishna's discussion, quote, "One chooses death if one really decides to choose it, not because life has failed him, but because one chooses it," unquote. And Dayakrishna adds that face-to-face with one's inmost freedom to choose not to be, one can choose otherwise. Hence, it is all about the capacity of choosing death, whether this choice is finally made or not. At this very moment of existential resolution, the moment of choice, if one can really choose death, what one chooses in the face of this ultimate possibility, Dayakrishna writes, is not our concern. His only concern is the concept of freedom rooted in choice, whether to be or not to be. In both cases, the given, life as a given, is transformed into voluntary, life or death as a choice. It is the irreversibility of the choice not to be which instigates foundational freedom. For Dayakrishna, any claim about not dying or release from death uttered by those whom he refers to as spiritualists, is mere delusion. Mere delusion. He explains, I quote again, "One lives in a consciousness which seems to be timeless, confined to a perpetual present, a living present, which alone is real as one lives in it. Therefore, one may imagine oneself dying, but one can hardly believe it. But the body decays, gets old, and is subject to illness, disease, and disability, and finally dies. No one is spared, not even the Buddha. Neither the noble truths nor the path could save him or anybody else. Tall claims about release from death seem vacuous and vain." The next line of Dayakrishna's paper begins with, quote, "Death, however, can at least be a matter of choice." Hence, according to him, there is no release from death, but a different type of release. Not by rejecting, avoiding, suppressing, postponing, annulling, or conquering death, but by embracing it. For Dayakrishna, a sense of release or freedom can only be achieved or merited with and through death. I will try to explain what I mean by embracing death through Patanjala Yoga. Twice the term Dvandva, pair of opposites, is mentioned in Patanjala Yoga Shastra, namely in Patanjali and Vyasa as a unified textual body. First in Yoga Sutra Bhashya 232, and second in Yoga Sutra 248. I apply to the notion of Dvandva having in mind death and life as a Dvandva, perhaps the Dvandva of Dvandvas, the most astonishing pair of opposites. Yoga Sutra 232 enumerates the niyamas, the secondary precept list for the yogin, the yoga practitioner. The niyamas, which comprise of the second limb of yoga in Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga scheme, include Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Svadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. In Yoga Sutra 248, Patanjali presents the siddhi, or merit, or outcome of the third limb of yoga, namely asana. In his commentary of Yoga Sutra 232, in clarification of the notion of tapas, Vyasa writes that this pertinent notion refers to endurance or forbearance or toleration, sahana, of dvandvas, pairs of opposites. When the yogi proceeds from niyama to asana, the outcome, so to say, of accomplishing this yogic stage, according to Patanjali, is dvandva anabhigataha, freedom from opposites. The term anabhigata denoting more literally insulation or being beyond disturbance. Hence, the yogi first bears opposites when practicing tapas, then transcends them when accomplishing asana. I wish to use these two terms, sahana and anabhigataha, toleration and transcendence, to summarize the way my two protagonists, Ramchandra Gandhi and Dayakrishna, perceive death, or more precisely, death and freedom. Ramchandra Gandhi sees the Mahatma's death as the paragon of freedom from opposites. I will explain through Tridip Shurud's account of the Mahatma's assassination. I quote from Tridip Shurud. "It was Icham Rityu," he writes, "a death that he, the Mahatma, has desired and willed. For months before that day, Gandhi had imagined this death, a violent death at the hands of an assassin. And at that moment, his ability to face the bullets on his chest without any trace of hatred for the assassin, and to meet his maker with the name of Ram on his lips." Now, probably my time is running out, so I'll summarize to you the remaining of the paper. So what I'm trying to suggest here that according to Ramchandra Gandhi, freedom lies in a certain understanding, of solidarity in the face of death. When one sees his death, a sense of solidarity with the other, and I'm sure that some of you are aware of his famous book, I Am Thou, the reply to Buber, not to Buber's I and Thou. So for Ramchandra Gandhi, the solidarity which is seen at the face of death is the crux of the matter. Interestingly, he writes in one of the chapters of I Am Thou, a chapter which is called Advaita is Ahimsa, He suggests that the translation of Ahimsa as non-violence is inaccurate. It is inaccurate because according to Ramchandra Gandhi, Ahimsa is not the antonym or the opposite of anything. It is not the opposite of violence, but it pertains to a deep understanding of that solidarity which I spoke about in the face of death. And Dayakrishna, on the other hand, is not interested in transcending life and death, as Ramchandra Gandhi is, but in living and dying willfully, affirming rather than negating both. He is an exponent of what Vyasa of the Yoga Bhashya refers to as sahana, if this classical term can be stretched as to denote not just forbearance, but even openness toward, in this case, toward the bipolar reality of life and death. I will try to elucidate Dayakrishna's approach through a letter written by him to a close friend sometime in 2006. And I think that I will close with this quote. A letter written to Ramchandra Shah. I met Ishwar Singh, his son-in-law, here last evening. And Dayakrishna writes to Ramchandra Shah in 2006, I hope your worry about my illness is over. Dayakrishna writes, though illness seems to be a natural condition of life at all its stages and ages, the stranger problem is that there are not only diseases of life, or what may be called the body, but also of mind and reason and intellect, and even of the spirit. Mental illnesses are fairly well known, but not so the diseases which reason itself is prone to. As for the spiritual illnesses, illnesses, one hardly hears about them. But what about imagination? Does it play an important role in diseases at all its levels? And if so, what is the cure for those diseases which are rooted in imagination and at another level in consciousness itself? If consciousness is a disease that has affected life, then could not life be considered a disease that has affected matter? Matter does not seem to have any diseases, though there are such things as rusting or radioactive decay, which in any case have not been seen as such. At one time, the story of the black hole seemed to suggest something analogous to what may be called disease at the heart of matter. Is literature a disease of language, just as according to Wittgenstein, philosophy is a disease which language suffers from when it takes a holiday from its daily use? End of quote. Dayakrishna takes his own illness as an occasion to rethink the notion of illness at large. He is more interested in illness as a philosophical problem to be critically analyzed than as a personal problem to be worried about. He is simultaneously an insider, suffering, taking medicines, etc., and an outsider, managing to find the right distance needed for reflection, even under the clutches of severe illness. The same attitude can be employed with regard to death, namely an attempt to find a certain distance despite the inevitability of death, distance which gives rise to lucidity, lucidity brimming with freedom, the very freedom that Krishna's letter quoted just now conveys. This lucidity in the face of death I find in Japanese death poems, composed by Zen monks and haiku poets on the verge of death. I will really close, with 3 death poems translated from the Japanese by Yoel Hoffman. Farewell, I pass as all things do, dew on the grass. I'll read it to you again. Farewell, I pass as all things do, dew on the grass. This poem was composed by Banzan, who died in 1730 at the age of 69. The second poem says, a parting gift to my body, just when it wishes, I'll breathe my last. A parting gift to my body, just when it wishes, I'll breathe my last. And the final poem, also the final words, of my presentation, I write, erase, rewrite. Erase again, and then a poppy blooms. I write, erase, rewrite. Erase again, and then a poppy blooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will invite Professor Samani Pragya ji to present her paper.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, आदरणीय समणी जी, देश विदेश से समागत विद्वज्जन, मेरा विषय है जीवन विज्ञान शिक्षा, सर्वांगीण चिंतन एवं व्यक्तित्व विकास की प्रक्रिया। शिक्षा और सर्वांगीण विकास समाज और राष्ट्र के विकास का मूलभूत आधार शिक्षा है। शिक्षा के अभाव में कोई भी राष्ट्र, समाज या व्यक्ति विकास नहीं कर सकता। मानव जीवन का संपूर्ण विकास, सर्वोपरि उन्नति, मानव की सुप्त शक्ति का विकास शिक्षा से ही संभव है। सामाजिक, राजनैतिक, आर्थिक और नैतिक प्रगति का आधार भी शिक्षा है। मनुष्य की अंतर्निहित पूर्णता की अभिव्यक्ति शिक्षा से ही हो सकती है। शिक्षा एक ऐसी प्रक्रिया है जो मनुष्य की जन्मजात शक्तियों के स्वाभाविक और सामंजस्यपूर्ण विकास में योग देती है, उसकी वैयक्तिकता का पूर्ण विकास करती है, उसके व्यवहार, विचार और दृष्टिकोण में परिवर्तन करती है। अरस्तु शिक्षा को मानसिक विकास का आधार मानता था। उनका मानना था कि शिक्षा से ही मानसिक विकास संभव है। आचार्य तुलसी भी इसी कथन की पुष्टि करते कहते थे, मानसिक व्यायाम का शिक्षा के साथ गहरा संबंध है। शिक्षा के द्वारा केवल पुस्तकीय ज्ञान ही उपलब्ध नहीं होता, मन भी प्रशिक्षित होता है। शिक्षा का अभिप्राय एक निश्चित पाठ्यक्रम को सीखकर परीक्षा उत्तीर्ण करना ही नहीं, अपितु शिक्षा तो एक ऐसी प्रक्रिया है जो व्यक्ति का नैतिक विकास कर उसमें उच्च जीवन मूल्यों की उद्भावना करती है। आज शिक्षा जगत में विकास तथा जीविकोपार्जन के लिए अनेक विद्या शाखाओं को विकसित किया जा रहा है, पर जीवन मूल्यों की स्थापना, आध्यात्मिक विकास, भावनात्मक विकास, आंतरिक रूपांतरण हेतु विद्या शाखा का अभाव दृष्टिगोचर हो रहा है, जिसके फलस्वरूप शिक्षा जगत में अनैतिकता, भ्रष्टाचार, उच्छृंखलता, उदंडता, तोड़फोड़, चरित्रहीनता, अनुशासनहीनता, बेईमानी, मादक द्रव्यों का सेवन आदि अनेक बुराइयों का प्रभाव हो रहा है। इन प्रभावों का आकलन कर आचार्य तुलसी ने कहा, शिक्षा पद्धति में नैतिक और आध्यात्मिक मूल्यों का समावेश होना चाहिए, तभी हमारी संस्कृति के अनुरूप एक नए समाज एवं देश की रचना हो सकेगी। विवेकानंद, दयानंद सरस्वती, महात्मा गांधी सभी ने शिक्षा प्रणाली में बदलाव की बात कही थी, किंतु प्रयोग एवं प्रशिक्षण के अभाव में नैतिकता एवं चरित्र का ह्रास होता रहा। शिक्षा को जीविका का साधन माना जाने लगा। आचार्य तुलसी ने कहा, शिक्षा को जीविका का साधन मानना शिक्षा की मूल्यवत्ता को कम करना है। अब ऐसी विद्या शिक्षा का विकसित हो, ऐसी विद्या शाखा विकसित हो जो शिक्षा को जीवनोन्मुख बना सके, व्यक्ति के भावनात्मक पक्ष व आध्यात्मिक पक्ष को उजागर कर सके। इस रिक्तता की पूर्ति के लिए आचार्य तुलसी एवं आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ ने शिक्षा जगत को जीवन विज्ञान अभिनव अवदान दिया। जीवन विज्ञान शिक्षा सर्वांगीण विकास की नूतन शिक्षा प्रणाली, शिक्षा जगत की समस्याओं, चरित्रहीनता, अनुशासनहीनता के समाधान के लिए आचार्य तुलसी के समक्ष ये सुझाव आए कि नैतिक शिक्षा को लागू किया जाए। राजस्थान के तात्कालिक शिक्षा मंत्री चंदनमल बेद ने घोषणा की कि स्कूलों में नैतिक शिक्षा अनिवार्य है। उस समय आचार्य तुलसी ने कहा, पाठ्य पुस्तकों से नैतिक शिक्षा का विकास नहीं हो सकता। परिवर्तन घटित करने के लिए प्रयोगात्मक प्रशिक्षण की आवश्यकता है। आचार्य तुलसी के अनुसार जीवन विज्ञान शारीरिक, मानसिक, बौद्धिक और भावनात्मक संतुलन विकास की प्रक्रिया है। ये अखंड व्यक्तित्व के निर्माण की एक प्रायोगिक प्रक्रिया है तथा संतुलित एवं परिपूर्ण विद्या शाखा है। संतुलित इसीलिए है कि इसमें शारीरिक, बौद्धिक, मानसिक और भावनात्मक विकास का संतुलन स्थापित किया जाता है। परिपूर्ण इसीलिए है कि इसमें सैद्धांतिक ज्ञान के साथ साथ प्रायोगिक अभ्यास भी अनिवार्य है। जीवन विज्ञान का उद्देश्य पुस्तकीय ज्ञान के साथ अच्छे ढंग से जीवन जीने की कला सिखाना, संवेगों पर नियंत्रण करने की पद्धति सिखाना, सामाजिक व्यवहार को निश्चल और मैत्रीपूर्ण बनाना, मादक वस्तुओं के सेवन से मुक्ति दिलाना, भाव परिष्कार और व्यवहार परिष्कार के माध्यम से व्यक्तित्व का सर्वांगीण विकास करना। आचार्य तुलसी ने अनुरत की आचार संहिता के माध्यम से अच्छे नागरिक का प्रारूप समाज के सामने रखा था। जीवन विज्ञान उसकी क्रियान्विति का प्रयत्न था। स्वामी विवेकानंद ने शताब्दी पूर्व कहा था, अध्यात्म और विज्ञान का समन्वय होना चाहिए। आचार्य विनोबा भी इसी अपेक्षा को बार बार दोहराते थे। आचार्य तुलसी ने जीवन विज्ञान के द्वारा इस अपेक्षा की पूर्ति की। जीवन विज्ञान में अध्यात्म और विज्ञान दोनों का समन्वय है। इसमें दर्शन, अध्यात्म और कर्म शास्त्र आदि प्राच्य विद्याओं के साथ साथ शरीर विज्ञान, शरीर क्रिया विज्ञान, समाज विज्ञान, मनोविज्ञान, पर्यावरण विज्ञान का अध्ययन भी समाविष्ट है। आचार्य तुलसी वर्तमान शिक्षा प्रणाली को दोषपूर्ण नहीं किंतु अपर्याप्त मानते थे। उनका मानना था कि वर्तमान शिक्षा प्रणाली शारीरिक एवं बौद्धिक विकास तो कर रही है किंतु मानसिक व भावनात्मक विकास नहीं हो रहा है। जीवन विज्ञान के द्वारा चारों आयामों को संतुलित रूप से विकसित किया जा सकता है। जीवन विज्ञान के रूप में मूल्यपरक शिक्षा की अवधारणा शिक्षा जगत को आचार्य तुलसी की अमूल्य देन थी। जीवन विज्ञान से तात्पर्य है संतुलित शिक्षा प्रणाली के द्वारा ही संतुलित व्यक्तित्व व संतुलित समाज का निर्माण संभव हो सकता है। संतुलित शिक्षा प्रणाली का तात्पर्य यह है कि जिस प्रकार से शारीरिक बौद्धिक विकास के लिए प्रयत्न किया जा रहा है वैसे ही प्रयत्न मानसिक व भावनात्मक विकास के लिए भी हो। ऐसा होने पर ही शिक्षा प्रणाली संतुलित हो सकती है। प्रश्न है कि उस संतुलन को प्रस्थापित करने वाले कौन कौन से तत्व हो सकते हैं। उनके लिए कहा गया प्राण धारा का संतुलन, जैविक संतुलन की स्थापना, क्षमता की आस्था का जागरण, परिष्कार। इस प्रकार प्रतिफलन चार आयामों में होता है, शारीरिक, बौद्धिक, मानसिक और भावनात्मक विकास। इस प्रकार इन विभिन्न संतुलनों के माध्यम से संतुलित व्यक्तित्व का निर्माण किया जा सकता है। प्राण धारा एवं जैविक संतुलन, मानसिक एवं भावनात्मक विकास के लिए प्राण धारा का विकास व संतुलन आवश्यक है। प्राण के दो प्रवाह हैं, ईड़ा और पिंगला। मस्तिष्क का बायां हिस्सा बौद्धिक विकास के लिए उत्तरदायी है। अध्यात्म अंतश्चेतना का विकास, आंतरिक वृत्तियों का विकास ये दाएं हिस्से का काम है। प्राण के इन दोनों प्रवाहों में संतुलन स्थापित होना जरूरी है। जीवन विज्ञान का कार्य है जैविक दृष्टिकोण से जो असंतुलन हो रहा है उसे रोककर संतुलन स्थापित करना। क्षमता की आस्था का जागरण, दर्शन की दृष्टि से कहा गया है मनुष्य में अनंत ज्ञान होता है, अनंत बल होता है, अनंत आनंद होता है। विज्ञान भी इसी निष्कर्ष तक पहुंचा है कि हमारे मस्तिष्क में अनंत क्षमताएं हैं। जीवन विज्ञान के द्वारा विद्यार्थियों में इस आस्था को जागृत करना है। हमारे भीतर अनंत क्षमताएं हैं और उन्हें सक्रिय कर सकते हैं। उसमें ऐसी आस्था पैदा की जाए जो असंभव कार्य भी संभव हो सकता है। परिष्कार, परिष्कार के लिए आवश्यक है श्वास प्रेक्षा, शरीर प्रेक्षा, अनुप्रेक्षा, कायोत्सर्ग। ये ऐसे प्रयोग हैं जिनके द्वारा सर्वांगीण व्यक्तित्व विकास हो सकता है। इसी आशा के साथ ओम अरहम।
I must thank all four presenters. They have presented in a very scholarly manner. I congratulate all of them. So I should be very brief. I would like to reflect on presentations given here. So first of all, I will take only one point from each speaker. Professor Tabassum Sheikh, she has in a very scholarly manner, she has streamlined the nature and the scope of interreligious dialogue. The very significant statement she made that religion overrides morality. Can it be? It seems that in most of the Indian religions, in Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, morality overrides religion. In Semitic religion, with reference to Semitic religion, her position is very sound, correct. But if we just review the entire, all different religions, then morality, especially in India, overrides religion, because we conceive religion or dharma without God. So the other point, she has mentioned that religion has got two functions. One is the negative and the other is the positive one. And she subscribes that if we want to avoid conflicts and clashes, we must abide by the positive aspects of religion, which has got unifying function. At one place she mentions about the ideology of violence. I doubt that violence has got any ideology, because ideology is a set of values. So ideology of violence means having a negative values. So some may point out that Naxalism has got ideology, but that is a negative one, and that cannot be termed as ideology. So, and these are my observations, but I fully endorsed her position that religion can serve to unify the human beings. So it has got positive function. The second paper was on concept of God, with a special reference to Saiva Siddhant. God is loving one, and there is nothing to say, because if God loves man, so naturally it is very sound position. The third presenter, his contents, it is remarkable in the sense that we rather do not take pains to deal with the living or the recent philosophers. He has very rightly brought Professor Ramchandra Gandhi in the limelight, because this is to deal with Ramchandra Gandhi is certainly a praiseworthy work, and comparing with Professor Dayakrishna, it is certainly a very scholarly attempt. So, he has nicely brought that freedom, according to R.C. Gandhi, Ramchandra Gandhi, lies in understanding solidarity. He equates freedom with solidarity with the entire human race. So, the choice and freedom, he has equated that to be free is to choose. That may be existential position, but ontological position is not, freedom cannot be totally equated with choice. So we have got ontological position relating to freedom, and moreover, in India, Indian sages and seers, they love negative expressions for positive meaning. So, rightly, he has pointed out that ahimsa is not non-violence. So, ahimsa has got positive meaning, and that is in tune with the Indian positions, or tune with the thinking of Indian saints and seers, giving the positive meaning to negative expressions like Amrit, Advait, Ahimsa. So last, Professor Samani, Pragya ji, she has taken the position that education can change the society, it can transform human society, and education is not simply knowledge. Knowledge may consist of information, but education is the cultivation of values, and naturally it transforms the human existence and the social existence. So education is not in terms of getting only information. So the transformation of society in a to contemplate in a value system, Indian value system, because Jainism is within the Indian value system. It stipulates total transformation, so education is an instrument to transform the whole human personality and the social framework. Thank you very much. Oh, one function I have to perform. I have to just give this certificate to Professor Dr. Daniel. Please come. This session, I think, comes to close. If the organizer is, I must thank all the presenters and audience, august audience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Friends, I take this opportunity to thank our honorable speakers, Professor Tabassum Sheikh for her interesting paper, and Professor Chandrasekar very beautifully expressing his views on the concept of God in Saiva Siddhanta. And also I thank Daniel for his thought-provoking address on Dayakrishna as well as Gandhi. And then I also thank Professor Samani Pragya for her excellent exposition. And I also thank our chairperson, Professor R.C. Sinha, who was very kind enough to conduct these proceedings. So with this, we close this session, and immediately we start the technical sessions. So I request all of you to go to your concerned respective sessions. And here we are going to have the roundtable 2 on the title, Mysteries of Human Life and Universe. That roundtable will be held here, and yeah, you will explain that. Yeah.
Also like to thank Dr. Paneer Selvam for moderating the event as well, along with Dr. R.C. Sinha. Now we would like to take one picture with all the respected dignitaries that have traveled here for the IPC. So please, everyone, please stay on stage, and everyone from the audience that is here for this event, please definitely come forward so that we can take this picture.